Good afternoon, and welcome to Columbus City Council's Health and Human Services Committee hearing. Today, we'll be discussing the Local Food Action Plan 2020 Annual Report. I am Councilmember Priscilla Tyson and Chair of the Health and Human Services Committee. I would like to thank you for joining us for this discussion on the Local Food Action Plan. Before we begin, please be aware that this hearing is being recorded for rebroadcast on CTV, the Columbus Government Television Channel 3. The rebroadcast schedule is available at www.columbus.gov. I would like to acknowledge Commissioner John OGrady, who co-sponsored the Columbus and Franklin County Local Food Action Plan. John and I began working on the food plan over 6 years ago as a joint effort between the city and the county. And to my knowledge, this is the only food plan that has city and counties have worked together. You will hear from Commissioner O'Grady shortly. I also want to thank the Franklin County Local Food Council for hosting this hearing. You will hear more about the Food Council from Ariel Miller and Karima Samadi. One of the goals of the food plan is encouraging collaboration and coordination amongst existing entities in the food system. And working with the Franklin County Local Food Council is essential to making that happen. As I mentioned, the food plan is a partnership with the county. James Shimmer, Director of the Franklin County Economic Development, will be providing remarks this afternoon. The county has been instrumental in using economic development tools to strengthen our local food system. The annual report highlights that the county launched the food business portal last year to assist entrepreneurs operating food businesses. I also want to acknowledge our Health Commissioner, Dr. Rashika Roberts, who you will also hear from momentarily. I also want to recognize Cheryl Graffanino and Brian Estabrook. These are the members of the food team who are making the work that we are doing on the food plan possible. In addition, I want to say thank you to our local food board chair, Tony Logan, for his leadership in implementing the food plan. You will hear from Tony and Michelle Moskowitz Brown, who is also on the food board, as well as food board members Amy McCormick and Adam Troy. Further, today's presenters will provide updates on the Farm Share Program, the Food Business Portal, and food waste reduction efforts. I'm also excited that we will be acknowledging community efforts that are making a difference with increasing food access. And the Food Champion honorees will be announced at today's hearing. Our purpose today is to commemorate the Local Food Action Plan 2020 Annual Report. When we began working on the food plan, we did so with the understanding that food is important to the physical and economic health of our community and residents. In order to address food-related issues, it was also clear that we needed a comprehensive plan that included everyone who contributes to the food system, from producers, processors, to distributors and consumers. The plan includes 4 goals and 27 actions. The goals are enhancing the coordination and communication among existing food resources and agencies, improving access and education about healthy food, affordable food, and local food, increasing the role of food in economic development, and preventing food waste. From the outset, the 2020 annual report brings into focus the issue of racial inequities as it relates to food access. As we reflect on 2020, we were not only challenged with responding to COVID-19 pandemic, but racial tension throughout the country forced many to acknowledge that racism is still a prevalent and present issue. Black and brown people are greatly impacted by inequities in many of the key social determinants of health, including but not limited to crime, housing, education, transportation, employment, and food access. When I started this work back in 2014, I was compelled to do so understanding that many of our residents, especially in our urban areas where many Black residents live, are in food deserts. The annual report indicates that almost 60% of Black households in Columbus are food insecure, compared to less than 25% of white households. The annual report also states that a June 2020 publication, OSU researchers reported a 34.2% point gap between white household food insecurity, which is 75.6, versus black household food insecurity, which is 41.61 in Columbus. While this zip code level data was collected in 2014, the prevalence of food insecurity in black households nationally continues to be more than twice that of white households. Given the substantial disparate impacts of COVID-19 on Black and Brown households, it is almost certain that food insecurity gap between Black and white households in Columbus and Franklin County not only still exists, but expanded in 2020. One of our primary goals is to increase access to healthy food, local food, and affordable food. And we cannot have an honest dialogue about food access without discussing those who are disproportionately impacted and have limited access to quality, affordable food. Given the impact of race, as it concerns food access, I am pleased that the local food board has developed a statement that makes a clear stance against racism in the food system. Further, we took advantage of opportunities such as Farm Shares Pilot, Farmers Supporting Health and Racial Equity. This program was designed to engage Black growers and Black-led community organizations that serve Black residents and connected 5 local producers to 6 host agencies. Approximately 60% of the participating growers identified as Black, 83% of the host locations were Black-led, and approximately 84% of the residents served were Black, Indigenous, and people of color. This project is continuing in 2021, offering a longer season and serving more residents. I'm happy to financially support that program. Results like these and all of our work implementing the local food action plan are some of my proudest achievements, and I will continue to support efforts that enhance equity in our food system. I'm looking forward to today's presentations about the 2020 accomplishments of the local food action plan. If Commissioner OGrady is,
I had to check two.
if he's here, because I would like to turn over to him, but if not, I'm going to turn it over to our Health Commissioner, Dr. Rashika Roberts.
Good afternoon.
Okay. Oh, my friend is here, so I now would like to turn over to Commissioner John OGrady. Good evening, good evening, Commissioner.
Good evening. Sorry for being late. I'm still always struggling with WebEx, so but I'm honored to be here today. Priscilla, it's good to see you again. And this is a great group, and I wanted to let everybody know that we're as committed as ever and steadfast in our commitment to local food security, just like always. Improving access to healthy, affordable, and local food for everyone in our community has never been more apparent, because if there's one thing that this pandemic has underscored, it's just how fragile food security is for so many of our neighbors. And it's also revealed the disparities and inequities that exist in food access. And while they are not unique or new to our community, these issues are what inspired this board to work together toward our vision of a fair and sustainable food system that benefits our economy and our environment and all people. I'm sure that many of you, like me, are looking forward to putting the COVID-19 pandemic behind us. More than 5 million Ohioans have received at least one shot already, and that number grows grows every day. So every day we move one step closer. And there's a lot to look forward to in Central Ohio. I know as it has felt like the world sometimes stopped during this pandemic, but a lot of work has continued in Franklin County, including job creation and economic development, supportive health and human services, environmental sustainability, and racial equity, all of which contribute and are critical for a strong local food system. And I'm particularly proud of our work to support small businesses with the Quick Strike Emergency Program and the COVID-19 Small Business Response and Recovery Fund, as well as the Franklin County Food Business Portal. Forbes magazine has said that Columbus is the #1 opportunity city, and Franklin County and Columbus City officials have been committed to making sure That opportunity applies to everyone. We're proud of our long-term collaboration with the city to develop this plan, making certain that it didn't sit on a shelf, but we wanted to be an evolving progression of success by committing full-time city and county staff and resources to implement the plan. I want to personally thank Councilmember Tyson as she marches off into retirement later this year for her commitment to this work and her partnership over these many years. The local food action plan is an important part of her legacy, and I look forward to continuing to partner with the city to see it advanced in the years to come. Thank you for your service, Priscilla. It's been a pleasure working with you on this project. 2020 was difficult for everyone, some far more than others, and we came together as a community and showed that we can accomplish hard things together, even in the midst of a crisis. One of the most important things that we can do as public officials is engage faith in our systems. Faith that when you need our government, it will be there for you. May we always remember that the most basic purpose and responsibility of our leadership is to create the conditions necessary for its residents to thrive, and that means every resident, every day, having access to healthy, affordable food. Thank you.
Thank you, John, and just really appreciate working with you over these years. And I certainly have gotten a commitment from our mayor and our council president that this work will continue. So you'll have some partners that keep working to move this work forward. I now would like to introduce our health commissioner, Dr. Rashika Roberts. Good evening, Dr. Roberts.
Good evening, and thank you so much, Councilmember Tyson. I appreciate being here, and I appreciate all the work that you've done. Good afternoon and good evening to all the local food council members and all of you who are listening in today for your commitment to increasing food access to all residents in this wonderful community we all call home. We all know that nutritious foods are an important part of a healthy life, and yet access to healthy food has been an issue for some time for many in our community. And this COVID-19 pandemic has further exacerbated this issue for all of us and its collective impact on our residents, particularly residents of color. As Councilmember Tyson mentioned, about 60% of Black households are food insecure. To put it another way, I try to put a positive spin on it. If you look at white households, 76% of white households are food secure, compared to only 42% of Black households that are food secure. Just really illustrating the disparity gap we have in our community between Black and whites in our community. As you all know, in February of 2020, Mayor Ginther declared racism as a public health crisis. In response to that, Columbus Public Health opened and started the Center for Public Health Innovation, which was created to increase life expectancy and raise quality of life by reducing these health inequities and these health disparities. The center's work is critical to addressing racism and helping set policies to achieve healthier and more equitable community for all of our residents. The local food system strategies work and the implementation of the local food action plan are part of the center's work to address racism as a public health issue. In fact, health equity is the focus of the local food action plan and of all the staff and the teams dedicated to its implementation. Columbus Public Health is committed to implementing the local food action plan with a focus on addressing the social determinants of health that contribute to the food security gap between Black and white households. Together with all of you, we are now looking at food through a new lens that uses public health policy as well as collaborative community efforts to reduce and eliminate health inequities in food. I believe that we in this community can make a significant impact in addressing and reducing the health disparities we see here in Columbus. If we reduce disparities, we are going to create stronger, healthier, and hunger-free communities. The local food action plan is our roadmap to build a fair and sustainable food system that benefits our economy and our environment, as well as the people who call our community home. Columbus Public Health is proud to join in this important effort, and thank you for working with all of us to achieve our goals. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Roberts, and we appreciate what you're doing each and every day for our community as we deal with this pandemic. I would now like to introduce Jim Shimmer, who's the Director of Planning. He's the Director of Franklin County Economic Development and Planning. Jim, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you. Councilwoman Tyson, I would just want to verbally tell you how much I've appreciated working with you over the years. It's really been a pleasure, both not only with the food board, but also with the Sister Cities program as well. And your dedication to both of those has been sort of the intersection of you and I have always appreciated that. So thanks so much for that. I'm the Director of Economic Development and Planning, and specifically for Franklin County, EDP integrates economic development, community development, planning, and building services, which really allows us to collaborate and work together across different areas of expertise to ensure the best outcomes for Franklin County residents and businesses. Our strong partner has been the City of Columbus, and no better illustrated than the work that is being done currently with the food board and the local food action plan. It's been a critical component part of what we've been able to do. And the intersection of economic development and food is a really simple concept. Food is an important part of everyone's life, and the ability to utilize it as a tool to enhance economic development is something that we've worked really closely with. Our agency focuses on strengthening the food system by creating an accessible, equitable climate for small food businesses, and working together with our partners at the City of Columbus to support grocery stores, community gardens, and organizations to reduce food waste. But here's the big thing, folks. In 2020, we were especially super proud to have launched the Franklin County Food Business Portal. This is an ability and allows folks to be able to easily access everything that they need to become an entrepreneur and access all of the resources they need to plan, launch, and grow a food business. It's a great idea. I'm really pleased about the fact that we were actually got it implemented. And I want to thank Brian Estabrook on our staff for having the ability to go ahead and move forward with that. We've been really happy as well to understand some things that we've never known in the past. I shouldn't say never known, but really had it brought out and pointed to us, to our attention this year. And that's really this concept of where people stand in the community and what is really happening in their lives. So it's already been mentioned, but Black households in Franklin County are far more likely to be food insecure and far less likely to have financing to start small businesses. And we worked hard this year on economic development with the City of Columbus to support small businesses. And we've got through one crisis, which was the idea of trying to keep those businesses up and running. And now we're into the next evolution, which is really going to be backfilling those businesses which are not here now, which were not able to make it, with new businesses. And hopefully a lot of those businesses are going to be small food businesses. We know that they can certainly access the portal to get all the information that they need to do it. So again, very pleased to talk to all of you tonight and kind of just touch on a few things that we've been involved with. So thank you for that opportunity. Very pleased to be here. Thanks.
Thank you, Director Schumer and Shimmer. Thank you for the work, and especially around how do we grow the food business portal in 2020, and how do we grow our businesses. So thank you. I would now like to turn the program over to the chair of our local food board, Tony Logan. Tony, the floor is yours.
Local food board, and Columbus County and Franklin County local food board consists of community leaders and food systems experts who have the ability to mobilize resources and increase awareness of food-related issues in Central Ohio. The board itself consists of 12 members, 6 of which are appointed by the city, Columbus City Council, and 6 of which are appointed by the Franklin County Board of Commissioners. And I'm not going to recite the names of everyone. They're on the slide in front of you, but suffice it to say that they represent a very robust cross-section of community leaders in Central Ohio, with special emphasis on our educational institutions, both Ohio State and Columbus State, and NGOs and healthcare experts from around Central Ohio. And we're very proud to have this quality of a team assembled. We meet quarterly, and our goals include prioritizing the local food action plan action items for implementation here in Central Ohio, and to improve access to and education about healthy and affordable local foods throughout the community, regardless of economic standing. And we also seek to increase the role of food production and food-related businesses in our regional economic development. Finally, our purpose is to report to city and county elected officials annually, which is the purpose of today's special council meeting. Our food board is one of only 2 in the country that offer this city and county collaboration in the local food space. And we're very thankful to our city and county public officials, specifically Councilperson Tyson and Commissioner OGrady, for their strong leadership in making this happen. But we can't begin an honest review of our past year's activity without recognizing the momentous impact of the Black Lives Matter protests in our community and across the nation, and the unflattering spotlight that they have shown on many systemic barriers for persons of color throughout our society, which are shaped by racial inequality. And while our focus at the food board is here in Central Ohio, we recognize that the problem of inequality in our national food system, from food deserts to lack of land ownership to a lack of opportunity in food-related businesses, these trace back to the displacement of people of color from their land during the post-Civil War Reconstruction and the Jim Crow eras. Since 1920, the number of Black-owned farms in the U.S. has declined rapidly from around 1 million in 1920 to less than 40,000 today. In 1920, that amount represented 14% of all U.S. farmers. And today, Black farmers only make up about 2% of all farmers in the United States. And most of that decline has been linked to racist loan application approval policies and higher foreclosure rates for Black farmers, much of it in the Deep South, but certainly it was systemically practiced around the country. And in the past, USDA has faced sharp criticism from minority farmer groups for lacking diversity and ignoring these complaints of bias in their programs. But thankfully, today, through the American Recovery Act, which was passed in March, that includes $4 billion in debt relief for Black, Hispanic, and Indigenous farmers, plus an additional $1 billion in new assistance for new farmers going forward. So USDA under the current administration is committed to transforming America's food system with much greater focus on local and resilient economies, regional food production, fairer markets for all producers, and building new markets and streams of income for farmers and producers, including for this new generation of urban farmers that we hope to serve locally. The food board is also committed to restoring equity throughout the local food chain here by removing systemic barriers for persons of color and by building a workforce throughout the food chain, which is more representative of America as a whole. And to further outline our efforts, I'd like to call upon our local food staff team, Brian Estabrook of Franklin County Planning and Cheryl Graffinino of the Columbus Health Department. Take it away, folks.
Good evening, and thank you all so much for coming and joining us here this evening to learn about the successes of the local food action plan and the work of our groups in the last year. Just a quick reminder for those who are maybe here for your first annual report hearing, but always a good way to kind of ground us as we begin to do our work, is to remind everyone of the roots of how the local food action plan came to be. Back in 2014, both Commissioner OGrady and Councilmember Priscilla Tyson recognized that both the city and county had had extensive support and investment into the local food system for a number of years, but that we lacked a plan and organization as to how we were going to be most effective in that work. And so together they sanctioned the Franklin County Economic Development and Planning, Columbus Public Health, and our grassroots partners at Local Matters to come together and develop a plan for our community and our local food system. And 2 years later, the Local Food Action Plan was adopted by both City Council and County Commissioners. The vision that was created for this process was a fair and sustainable food system that benefits our economy, our environment, and all people. And we identified 4 goal areas that included coordination and communication, access and education, economic development, and food waste prevention and reduction. And then I'm going to ask my colleague, Brian Estabrook, to share the role of the plan.
Hi, everybody. I'm Brian Estabrook, and I work for Franklin County as a food systems planner, and where I represent Franklin County on our local food, our local food team. And the plan has many roles. We've identified some of them here. The plan informs public policy and investment. It inspires program development. It fosters community collaborations, which is critical because the plan was never intended to simply be something that the government does. It was very much intended to be something that we in the government do along with the community, alongside and in partnership with. And then we also like to see the community run with ideas itself. The plan also guides local funding strategies and helps shape future development patterns. And the implementation of the plan is something that, that we're spending a lot of time tonight talking about as we look back on 2020. But after the plan was adopted in 2016, we needed a structure for implementation. And this was the structure that we came up with. And if you look in the middle, you'll see the Columbus and Franklin County Local Food Board, which is 12 appointed members, and also the Joint City-County Local Food Team. And the Local Food Board guides and oversees the implementation of the Local Food Action Plan, while the Local Food Team oversees the day-to-day work and moves the plan forward through project teams and by remaining in contact and collaboration and partnership with the community. And I'll throw it back to Cheryl to talk about our commitment to equity.
Thank you, Brian. One of the things that was important to all of us as we developed the plan and has continued to be essential and central to our work as we implement the plan was ensuring that all of our residents have fair and equitable access to healthy food, affordable food, and local food. From the very beginning, we recognized that we needed to have an intentional focus on health equity, an intentional focus on cultural competency, and ensuring that the work that we did really began to address the roots of the racial injustices that affect our entire community, but very much so in our food system. And so I'm pleased to share this evening that 2 of our board members will be talking with you a little bit about the statement that the Local Food Board adopted regarding racism in the food system. So I'll ask Amy McCormick and Adam Troy to unmute themselves and take the description or take the lead.
Thank you, Cheryl. I am Amy McCormick with the Kroger Company and a proud member of the Local Food Action Plan Board. I will kind of kick things off here and then turn it over to Adam. He can introduce himself at that time. But the events of this past year have truly brought into focus the levels of structural racism faced by Black community members. Continuing structural barriers based in anti-Black racism results in inequities and access to resources, leading to differing outcomes from Black communities across the country and right here in Franklin County and City of Columbus. This extends into the areas of food access and security, where Black communities are often faced with a lack of access to fresh, healthy food, as well as a lack of true ownership and success over the ability to produce, market, and then profit from their involvement in food-related initiatives and policies. And that brings me to our decision as a board last year, as we created a statement on racism in the food system. And at this time, I'd like to turn things over to Adam to let him introduce himself and then also share our statement.
Thank you, Amy, and good evening, everybody. If I might just give a quick shout out to Council Member Tyson. My sister, as you know, this is one of the few boards I've decided to serve on. Thank you for that opportunity. I'm so glad to be serving with these folks. And listen, Tony Logan, as the chair of this local food, man, listen, you can march with me any place, anytime after that opening statement. So I'm just happy to be serving alongside of these folks. And again, Council Member Tyson, you know what you mean to our family, both professionally and personally. So look forward to your retirement and continue to work alongside of you. Amy, to the business at hand, I've been asked to do. The Columbus and Franklin County Local Food Board stands in solidarity with the Black community and calls for an end to structural racism in the food system. We affirm the declaration from the City of Columbus and Franklin County that racism is a public health crisis affecting all people throughout our community, especially persons of color. And we pledge to continue and expand our work to end racism and health disparities. Everyone has a right to food. Again, everyone has a right to food. Structural racism prevents Black people from gaining equitable access to resources such as land, grocery stores, fresh and healthy food, food business opportunities, high quality jobs, transportation, and education. As a result, Black communities experience higher rates of poverty, food insecurity, and diet-related chronic disease. Creating a fair and sustainable food system that benefits our economy, our environment, and all people requires both recognizing and dismantling structural racism and the resulting disparities. Therefore, we affirm that Black lives do matter, and we recognize that Black perspectives and leadership must be central to our shared pursuit of a just food system. We commit to learning how the historical oppression of Black people in our country affects the conditions in our communities today, and to work to upend the inequities that persist. To that end, we commit to continuing the work of fighting structural racism in the food system and lifting up the work of so many in Columbus and Franklin County who are doing the same. Amy, back to you.
Amy, you're muted.
I just started and kept on going. So I apologize. Thank you very much, Adam. What I said was this statement was accepted unanimously in September of last year by the local food board members. And we've been engaging in several projects throughout 2020 and now in 2021 as we put our words into action. And that is truly what needs to happen now. So for example, the local food board, we have advanced on an equitable and inclusive civic engagement and partnership project aimed at helping the local food board and partners within the City of Columbus and Franklin County and then other local organizations gain a greater understanding of the barriers and the assets that exist relating to creating equitable and empowering relationships with Black communities through their community activities. So the project will be led by consultant Kip Hawley of the K. Hawley Consulting. Kip has worked in the field of civic engagement for over 15 years, specializing in developing plans for equitable and empowering engagement strategies for communities of color. The project will unfold over 4 phases that will range from interviews with local stakeholders to a deep analysis of the local food plan processes and personnel, ending in a set of recommendations aimed at repositioning local engagement activities with Black communities to offer a true partnership and empowerment in terms of food equity and beyond. So I know I speak on behalf of all of my fellow board members that we're looking forward to sharing the results of the project and getting some action moving as we as we move forward, I should say, into the next year. And with that, I will turn things back over to Cheryl.
Thank you, Amy. So we'll be moving into our community speakers and events this evening. For our speakers, thank you for sharing your slides with me. I will happily advance your slides. Just share with me that you're ready for your next slide. Or please call out if you would like to share your screen and advance your slides. So I would like to next take a moment to introduce Ariel Miller and Karima Samadi from the Franklin County Local Food Council to share a little bit about their role and the work that we all do together.
Thank you, Cheryl. This is Karima. I'll be presenting on Ariel's behalf and behalf of the council today. The Franklin County Local Food Council is an independent advisory council that brings together people from across the food system, from growers to eaters, with a particular interest in people and neighborhoods most affected by food system policies and programs. So our mission is listed here: expand, strengthen, maintain a resilient food system in Franklin County. And with the Food Action Plan, we provide support and a pathway for resident and community involvement in implementing that plan. Next slide, please, Cheryl. We've kind of expanded our leadership to really leverage a steering committee. So you can see all the our steering committee members here on the slide. Lots of expertise around the city and county, and they've really taken the charge in planning our listening sessions and our policy agenda moving forward. Next, please, Cheryl. So what we do, first we bring people together from across the food system, like I said, from growers to eaters. We provide a space for education and information sharing with regular meetings, quarterly opportunities to engage with each other, network, and other events, and also engage in local, state, and national food policy, including this city county local food action plan. We also promote other food-related events and programs throughout the community. Next slide, please. How you can get involved: anyone can be a part of the council. You can sign up on our listserv. You can follow us on Facebook. In the fall, we planned a listening session around essential food workers and had a policy brief that followed. We are now planning an upcoming summer zoning for local food systems listening session led mostly by Brian Estabrook. And again, these are all public. They're all open and virtual at the moment. And Councilmember Tyson, we hope to see you there too. Thank you for your passion for the local food system and support over the years. Thank you.
Thanks, Karima. We appreciate that introduction and description of the Local Food Council. I'd now like to ask our board member, Michelle Moskowitz-Brown, Executive Director of Local Matters and Chair of the Ohio Food Policy Network, to ground us in some of the responses to COVID-19 that we saw in our community this last year.
Thanks so much, Cheryl. It's great to see you all tonight. Last year, when I presented about our community's response to the pandemic, I talked a lot about the groups who were rising to meet our community's needs. We were all concerned about individuals who couldn't safely access resources. We know that the food system is set up to deliver a lot of food to a lot of people, but the pandemic really highlighted the need for people to get food directly to their homes, or at least into their neighborhoods. And a lot of our community speakers tonight are folks who stepped up to that major challenge. Last year, I also shared some information about racial disparities and food insecurity. Those have all been reiterated tonight, but I would like to bring our attention to the unjust reality of discrepancies that are increasing in life expectancy for BIPOC communities. It's likely that our current disparate trend is going to reverse the past 10 years of movement on this issue. Since COVID, white life expectancy has declined by 0.68 years, and the corresponding declines for Black and Latino people's lives are 2.1 years and 3.05 years, respectively. This is already after facing major gaps in expectancy and people experiencing, in general, a shorter lifespan, in large part due to diet-related disease. So while food security is not necessarily the main cause of the health disparities that COVID exacerbated, clearly we all know that affecting change in food access and education is effective, it's low-hanging fruit, and it's, compared to other barriers to healthcare issues. So tonight, we're here to celebrate a lot of the people who have turned that vision of food as a human right into action. And I stand with all the folks who've already spoken today up to this issue. So I have the pleasure of introducing 3 groups that went above and beyond to serve our community. They made sure seniors, vets, elderly people, people with disabilities, people who did not have homes or were experiencing or have developmental disabilities, making sure that they reached the care and had good food to eat during the most uncertain times in our country. And at the heart of all of these efforts were volunteers. And we know that the power of people helping people gave us all hope. And with the full integrated support of our government and champions like Councilmember Tyson, Commissioner OGrady, with all the nonprofits, business people, donors, and individuals working together, there's so much more that's possible. So tonight, first up, we've got Litha Pugh and Sang Lakhani, who collaborated with others to create Service, which provides meals for hospitality and restaurant workers whose lives were some of the first and most upended by the pandemic. Please welcome Litha and Sang.
Lisa, I believe you're muted.
All right, here we go. You would think I would get the hang of this after all this. But anyway, good evening. My name is Litha Pugh, and I am the treasurer for Service Relief for Hospitality Workers. I am a small business owner here in Columbus and a co-founder of Service Relief. I would like to also introduce Sang Lakhani, who was a co-founder as well. Well, I'm not sure if Sang was able to get on, but I will go ahead and continue with the presentation. The service project was founded immediately after the restaurants were shut down for COVID-19. What a lot of the restaurant owners realized was that the staff did not have any food. And what a lot of people don't realize also is that when the restaurants closed, a lot of the restaurants sent the food that was in the freezers and coolers home with the staff. And then when that food ran out within a week, the restaurant owners were actually getting calls from their staff because people were needing additional support. So a group of us got together, primarily spearheaded by Matthew Higgins and Sang Lakhani, to do something. And what we initially decided to do was provide meals for staff. And so we quickly set up a pre-order system to keep people healthy. We had 4 or 5 restaurants around town who continued to keep their coolers plugged in and provided volunteers for slots of time where folks could pre-order online and pick up meals. And in the end, we ended up providing over 10,000 meals for folks. Service's mission is, I'm sorry, if you could go back one slide. Service's mission is to identify and utilize resources to eliminate hunger and financial security. Part of our mission also included providing grants for folks who also were without any income due to technicalities with their unemployment. So I'd like to turn it over to Sang. She can share a little bit about her role in service and how we've gotten to where we are today.
Ms. Burks, are you able to unmute Ms. Lang?
I'm sorry, give me the name once again, please. Is it Elaine?
Sangeeta Lang?
Let me check just one moment.
I'm sorry, I may have
Yes.
gotten the last name wrong. Lakhani,
Sang-
sorry. Excuse me.
Thank you.
Hi.
Sangeeta, you're
Can you hear
unmuted.
me now?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Awesome. Thank you. Sorry, I couldn't get it to unmute. So I think Litha's gone over the highlights of what we do. We were a grassroots effort that came through about 2 weeks after restaurants shut down. Just personally, between Matthew, Litha, and I, we had laid off or actually unemployed about almost 100 employees, and we knew that within Franklin County, there was, on the conservative side, about 125,000 restaurant workers that had been unemployed overnight and struggling with trying to get their unemployment or, just get their feet under them, recover from the shock that had just happened. So, as leaders in this community, as leaders in the restaurant industry, it was our duty to come together, pull our networks together, and try to get something together. And our mission, from the beginning was to identify and utilize resources to eliminate hunger, which is huge for people that had been already working in a restaurant industry, because you don't think about those people going hungry as often. And financial insecurity while people were struggling with trying to get unemployment, with families coming back home, and kids that suddenly couldn't be taken to daycares. So it, from the get-go, we decided we would do what we knew best how to do. And we pulled together an amazing team of volunteers and made it our goal to alleviate financial insecurity, at least within Franklin County, by trying to promote self-sufficiency and help them gather resources and, guide them as best we could for what was available to them in that time. Do we have another slide? Initially, as cooks, as restaurant industry people, we knew the first thing we could do and do right away was pull together and start cooking. Thanks to this amazing network in this town, we were able to, put out over 10,000 meals within the first 8 weeks. And now we have an ongoing service where we offer micro grants and larger grants when needed, and when we have the funding to do so, and really try to help people, whether it's through education, transportation, boxed meals, educational opportunities. Obviously now with going back to work, trying to find people, connect people with jobs, and doing our best that we can at our little micro level within this community. I
Today,
will,
I'm
I
sorry,
will
go,
let
go.
Litha, no, I will let Litha finish off this conversation. Thank you for
Okay.
the opportunity for letting us be here.
In addition to meals, in addition to 10,000 meals, we also provided 100 Thanksgiving meals to folks at Thanksgiving time. We did $50,000 in $250 grants. And then we just did another $8,000. We did 8 $1,000 grants for people who have yet to get back into the food industry. We raised over $100,000 in the first year, and we've raised an additional $50,000. I would say in total, we've raised about $150,000. Primarily private funds. We've done a chef auction. We've sold T-shirts. We've had community organizations donate as well. And so I would say, as we kind of look toward the future in service, as Sang had mentioned, we are looking more toward food industry education, workplace development, and with the support of the community, we hope to be able to continue the service project. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Litha and Sang. It's incredible to hear about how you have taken your work in this industry, and obviously the innovation that came out of crisis, but exciting to hear how that's going to build and develop, and just let us all know how we can help. So next up, unfortunately, Rochelle Pate is not feeling well today, food soldier, but I will say, if you don't know Rochelle, you've got to meet Rochelle. She alone has 15,000 followers on, well, it's not just her because it's her community essentially, on Facebook, and it's a place where people just find out where food is and how to help each other. So it's another place of hope. And she's amazing. And so hopefully you get to meet her. We do have with us tonight Susan Swinford from Food Rescue US. Together, these two were going to present together because they're both volunteer-based organizations that delivered millions of pounds of food last year. I mean, just watching them on the daily, picking up even from pantries to get food elsewhere, picking up from restaurants, picking up at 10 o'clock at night, 7 o'clock in the morning, just hundreds and hundreds of volunteers coming together. And then also, figuring out a system for how do you make this work and how do you, recover food. So I'm grateful to be able to introduce Susan Swinford.
Thank you, Michelle. We're really grateful to be here. I am Susan Swinford, and with me is Emily Riles, Assistant Site Director. Food Rescue is a really basic model, which is that it uses a computer, a website, or an app to connect food that can be donated to people who need that food, and it uses volunteers to do the delivery. So we contact people or are contacted by people who have excess food. We set up a run or a rescue to deliver it as quickly as possible straight to a recipient site. And we use volunteers to do that. They can sign up. And in theory, it is a very, very simple system. The challenge for us is that I came aboard right before the pandemic started, and Emily joined shortly thereafter in April, without a lot of institutional memory. So we were working to try and know more about the community at the same time that a lot of things were shutting down, and we were really struggling to figure out how to get food to the sites that still needed it. The amazing thing about that process is that it ended up being an incredible lesson in the network of people addressing food insecurity, as well as surplus food and all of the interconnected issues that surround why people need food, lack access to food.
Next slide, please. Thank you. This is a couple of shots from the current iteration of the Food Rescue website. So on the left is a map of Franklin County and a little bit beyond, showing the green Ds are where we pick up food, so donating sites, and the Rs are receiving agencies. And these, at this point, vary from big pantries to neighborhood community giveaways. On the right side of the screen, you see the rescues that are currently in process today. So what happens is a volunteer can go in and sign up for a one-off rescue that suits their schedule, or can adopt a rescue to pick up on a weekly basis. So for example, the North Market at 6 p.m. is one that somebody does weekly at 6 p.m., takes it to a location that is serving residents who are supported by Huck House and whatever food the vendors at North Market have left over at the end of the day, that volunteer loads in the car and gets there. Next slide, please. What I think both that map and that list show is that we are picking up all kinds of food on a daily basis. And these are a couple other images of the variety of food that we might see in a day. Even though almost all of our donors shut down, at least partially, during the pandemic, we still ended up rescuing about 2 million meals worth of food in 2020, which is more than 2.5 million pounds. And since businesses have started to reopen and started to rethink how they are reaching customers, we have been able to expand the kind of outreach that we're able to do, sort of building on what we got set up during the sort of peak pandemic time. So in the last few months, we've got 13 new sources of food donations coming in, and like, literally weekly, we are hearing from new places that have food and want to get it somewhere. And what we are able to do is pick it up and take it to folks who need it. Which brings us to the next slide, which is Rochelle and the Farmers to Families program, which we have been participating in since July of last year. Do you want to talk something about that?
Yeah, we got the opportunity to work on the Farmers to Families and immediately realized that we were in the deep end and needed as much help as we could get. And Rochelle was an amazing resource because she has such a rich relationship with so many people in the community. And she was instrumental to helping us build a sort of vision about access for all, a recognition that we needed to have a really clear sense of why we were doing it and what our commitments were in terms of this. The process, collaborating with her on both giveaways, which she did, so we worked with her on those, and we also added a component whereby our volunteers would pick up those boxes and deliver, so that we were doing both delivery to sites and also the giveaways in various areas around the city. And what it did was get us out into the community and get our volunteers out into the community, meeting people, understanding the connections, seeing how many people are working on so many different levels on these issues. But it also allowed us to really focus on the areas that were most likely to have residents who were not getting access to the food, either because of income or because of lack of transportation, inability to get to a pantry during particular work hours, inability to get out for medical reasons. As you can see, we ended up delivering to over 150 locations in 34 zip codes around Central Ohio.
Can we see the next slide? That is a different map, which is like a little more homemade, but those are locations that we delivered those USDA provided boxes around Central Ohio and beyond. And some of the volunteers in action loading up those boxes and getting them into individual cars, or that's actually a volunteer's car getting ready to take a delivery. We ended up, with this sort of system of what it is that we are working toward now.
And so our goal obviously is to maximize our opportunities for food recovery. The goal of food rescue across the country is to work to divert edible food from landfills and get them to people facing food insecurity. We've also been working alongside that to identify and reach the communities and individuals who are outside or with less access to the existing food support network. And Columbus has a great one. One of the things that Rochelle really helped us to see were the ways in which there are pockets of people still unable to access the abundant resources that Columbus has for a variety of reasons. And we really moved alongside her in trying to reach the groups who were most vulnerable during the pandemic. And we've been working alongside her to figure out how we continue to get food to them as the Farmers to Families program ends, and as we come back online with some of the other rescues that we have. We're particularly interested as well in building relationships with the other people working, other organizations working, to see this as a network and to really take the opportunity to get our volunteers out into those communities and interacting with people, so that the kind of work that might appear as pure service, where someone is doing something for someone else, gets refigured as work in which you are working alongside people who are working within the community to improve it for all of us.
Thank you.
And I think,
Thanks so much, Susan and Emily. It's been amazing to watch you all and participate with you all over the past year. And again, looking forward to all of the ways that the work will continue to develop. And, you know, and it's just incredible to think about, you know, 6.5 million pounds of food. I mean, between the Farmers to Families and the meals distributed, and probably if you added, I don't know if Rochelle has even more than that to account for. And really, this isn't to glorify working without a structure, because we all need infrastructure to make these things possible, but it is really remarkable to see how people turn up for each other. So thank you for that. I'm grateful to work with you. And next up, we have Chuck Gehring, the CEO of Life Care Alliance. And you probably all know Chuck. His organization is a pioneering staple in our community, and Chuck leads the charge to make sure that seniors and people with disabilities didn't go hungry or uncared for or unattended to during the pandemic. So it's my pleasure to introduce Chuck.
Good evening, all. I'm Chuck Gehring from Life Care Alliance. And if you don't know us, go to the next slide, please. Michelle, since you're doing that, thank you. Our community impact this year, we've been serving seniors and medically challenged individuals and families through nutrition and healthcare since 1898. So I was not the founder of this organization. Meals on Wheels, we do in multiple counties, but we'll focus on Columbus and Franklin County tonight. Community dining centers are part of the Meals on Wheels program, and in fact, they provide congregate settings so people can have socialization in addition to the meal. Now, those had to shut down, unfortunately, through the pandemic and through the restaurant order, but they're starting to open up again. And we did grab and go programs in between. We do in-home healthcare, nursing, and immunizations. We have the oldest free cancer clinic in the country. We have the last two diabetic service organizations that are nonprofits in the state of Ohio, the Central Ohio Diabetes Association and Diabetes Dayton. Those both merged into us. And those are critical, I would tell you, because many of the seniors and medically challenged who get our meals, in fact, over 50% of them have type 2 diabetes, which you get just naturally as you age. So we also do education pieces for them constantly as to how to not get diabetes. Project Open Hand that you see on the screen, you only see that name in San Francisco, Atlanta, and Columbus, Ohio. They merged into us. They were an agency that merged into us back in 2004. And they are basically Meals on Wheels for people with AIDS. And we have a huge HIV AIDS population here in Central Ohio. We want our people to keep their best friends. So we do pet care and send out food and home repair, to name just a few of the things we do. Next slide shows us what we did during COVID. Back in April of 2020, our home delivered meals shot up by 65%. And they've never been less than 65% since last April. That's an increase of that amount. We got a lot of people that said, hey, I lost my supports. I don't have my family member who comes and takes me to the Kroger anymore. So how do I survive? So we also, because of the closing of the dining centers, we picked up about 800 people from them. So we picked up about almost 4,000 new clients last year through the course of the year and this year. And we serve over
Mr. Gehring, is everyone able to hear his audio?
I'm not.
No.
Mr. Gehring, we've lost your audio, sir.
since we are short for time tonight with the additional hearing that will start at 6 p.m., I'm going to suggest that we move on to our Local Food Champion Award. And when Mr. Gearing is able to bring back his video or his audio, then we can wrap up with him, if that is okay, Michelle?
Sure, you want to give it one more college try, or we can't hear him? Okay. Yes, thank you, Chuck, so much. I mean, we see it in front of us here in terms of the economic benefit also of what you do, but really the care of people who are stuck in their homes and needed extra help, especially. And thanks again to all the volunteers who've been helping.
Thank you. Thank you, Michelle. And just a quick reminder to all of our speakers that we do have a hard stop this evening, and we still have quite a bit of information to go through. So if everyone can please be conscious of monitoring your time limits. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Rachel Tate, who is going to share some information about the Franklin County Local Food Council's Local Food Champion Award.
Hi, and thanks for having me. In the interest of time, I'm going to cut some of my comments back and share the history of the Local Food Champion Award another time. But just to let you know that this year, the Food Council Steering Committee decided to change the award system a little bit, creating youth and service and technical categories. And additionally, we're increasing the number of awards because there was a whole year during the pandemic when we didn't get to recognize the folks who are our local food champions. So I'm delighted to share those awards with you now. First up is Talaria Watkins II, our first ever youth awardee, nominated by LaShawn Chapman. Talaria was nominated for their work preventing food waste, Goal D of the action plan. Talaria has delivered over 7,000 pounds of food to local food banks and pantries and 2,000 pounds of fresh produce to the Broad Street Pantry this past summer during the pandemic. His work continues as he's trying to help end hunger and encourage kids to eat healthier through his nonprofit, the Garden Club Project. Congratulations, Talaria. Our next awardee in the technical category is Christine Weatherholtz, nominated by Ohio State University Extension educator Tim McDermott. For Christine's work in Goal B, improving access to and education about healthy and local food. Christine is Columbus City Schools Farm to School nutrition educator and a former Teacher of the Year awardee. Since 2017, she's grown the Columbus City Schools Community School Garden program from 18 to 64 gardens and counting. She's done everything needed to support her fellow educators, including raised bed construction, guest lectures, curriculum development, and harvest and distributing produce. Christine shared with me that it's truly taken a village to have the type of growth and impact the Columbus City Schools Farm to School initiative has experienced. And I'm so thankful to everyone who has worked beside me to create this opportunity. Congratulations, Christine. Our second local food champion in the technical category is Lucy Schroeder, who you'll hear more about later. She was nominated by her colleague Kyle O'Keefe for her work preventing food waste, Goal D of the Local Food Action Plan. Kelly has been instrumental in a number of SWACO's food waste programs, serving residents, food businesses, restaurants, and kitchens, and also in collaborating with partners to rescue edible food and distribute it to individuals and families in need. Congratulations, Lucy. Moving to the service category, for those activists volunteering their efforts, our next local food champion is Adrienne Williams on behalf of the Growing and Growth Collective. I nominated Adrienne for the collective's efforts towards Goal B, improving access to and education about healthy and affordable local food. Adrienne is among the leadership of a new justice-oriented collective that started in the midst of the pandemic and offered thoughtful activities, including garden work days, virtual discussions, and impactful social media and newsletter communications. Congratulations, Adrienne and the Growing and Growth Collective. Our next local food champion is in the service category is Minister Erin K. Hopkins, nominated by Karima Samadi for the Southside Family Farms efforts to improve access to and education about healthy, affordable local food, Goal B. Minister Erin Hopkins food access since April 2015, when he and his wife for life, Miss Tony, created the Community Youth Engagement Project through the Reaching Higher Heights for Life program. Since then, he's created Columbus Land Bank community garden sites and is beginning a farm in Johnstown, Ohio, 2 acres to hopefully grow and deliver 10 times as much produce as they did last year through a CSA. Minister Hopkins exemplifies what it means to be a food justice warrior, and nothing stands in his way. Congratulations, Minister Aaron. And last but not least, it is my pleasure to present the Local Food Champion Award to Dr. Suzanne Moeller, nominated by Yen Haynes for Suzanne's work to improve access to and education to healthy, affordable local food, Goal B. Following her career in academia, Dr. Moeller became invested in the greater Columbus community as a certified, I don't have time to read the list, and she's served on so many local food boards, programs, councils, and committees. As a garden leader, she fostered a collaboration in 2017 between the Wexner Center and many other partners to build the Berry Patch, a public fruit park on a vacant lot at the intersection of North 4th and 11th Avenue. And Suzanne invites us all to the big strawberry harvest there on July 11th. So with that, I conclude the Local Food Champion Awards and congratulate you all. I invite those listening to send in their nominations on a rolling basis so that we can continue to recognize the folks who do great work in our city. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rachel. I wanted to just check and see if Mr. Gehring might be back online, that we could finish up his presentation before I turn it back to Councilmember Tyson.
I'm back online. Can you hear me?
I can. Let me get back to your slides here. There we are.
Go to the next one, please, and we'll finish up.
There we are.
Thanks. Can I just say I hate WebEx, but other than that, we're okay. So our meals, as I was saying, increased by as much as 65%. In the top 100 population centers, we are probably, I put one of the only still accepting clients without waiting lists. We are probably, to my knowledge, the only people in the top 100 population centers nationally still accepting people for the Meals on Wheels program without waiting lists, thanks to some City of Columbus funding, amongst others. Most home delivered meals, and we're clearly the ones delivering the most of any nonprofit agency in the country. We serve seniors and medically challenged under senior age, and we're really one of the few cities, again, and one of the few counties that takes people under senior age who have a medical challenge. So in most cities, they really don't have any place to go. We take them here and get them meals. All our meals are delicious and nutritious, and they're low in fat, sodium, and sugar content if they have assistance. We assist individuals and families in staying in their own home and out of institutionalized settings and homeless shelters. Many of our people are one step almost sometimes into a homeless shelter. We do pay also rents and utility shutoffs to keep people in their homes. And we do all this to save about $80,000 in government funding, which is Medicaid, which would kick in to place them in assisted living or nursing home care per year, per client for their home. And we did get money. And if you want to help, if somebody out there is watching this, go to the next slide, please. You can either go call our volunteer hotline, which most people like to, 614-444-MEAL, which is 6325, or go to lifecarealliance.org. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Gehring. I'd like to take this opportunity to give Councilmember Tyson an opportunity to speak to all of our presenters thus far before we get into our last few.
Thank you, Cheryl. Again, I'm truly impressed by all the efforts of our community partners, from Ms. Litha Pugh of Service, certainly as well as the Food Soldier, also Rescue US, and Chuck Gehring of Life Care Alliance. Thank you for all that you have been doing in our community to increase food access to our residents, especially during this time of the pandemic. Even though I know you're doing it every day, but you certainly had to step up during that period. And also, I want to thank certainly all the local food champions for the work that they are doing in our community. It is quite impressive to be able to hear and to hear about the work that you're doing. And again, I certainly want to spend more time with the local food champions and understanding their work, as well as the organizations that have certainly played a significant role during the pandemic. In this next segment of today's hearing, we'll learn more about what we were able to accomplish last year. In 2020, we will find ways to be innovative in order to continue moving forward. And so I now want to ask Cheryl if she will now be able to present the Cheryl. We're now ready for the local food action plan presentations, correct?
Yes, thank you. Yes. Ms. Burks, if I may share again, I will bring the slides back up. While I'm bringing those up, I'm going to go ahead and ask my partners at Ohio Farmers Market Network to start their presentation regarding farm share. Jamie? Or Angela?
Is that
Can you
Jamie?
Jamie?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Hi. There she is.
Okay. Hello, my name is Jamie Haji, and I'm the board chair of the Ohio Farmers Market Network. Councilmember Tyson and Commissioner O'Grady, thank you for inviting us here today and for supporting farmers markets, farmers, and food producers. We're here today to share the innovation and success of Farm Shares, Farms Serving Health and Racial Equity, a program that connects Columbus and local food-focused organizations who feed their communities and Columbus urban growers and Ohio farmers who grow the food. So what is Farm Shares? We like to say that Farm Shares is a win-win-win-win. It solves 4 problems. First, it is a win for our funders looking to invest something tangible in the community. Second, for our direct-to-consumer farmers and growers who had food to sell. Third, for the community organizations who wanted to help their neighborhood in need. And fourth, for Columbus residents searching for fresh, healthy local food. The Farm Share program was designed to address disruptions to the local food economy, specifically for direct-to-consumer producers experiencing delayed, altered, or canceled farmers markets and restaurant relationships as a result of the pandemic. Farm Share purchased fresh produce from Ohio farmers and urban growers affected by the pandemic during peak growing season and distributed it to partner organizations in Columbus communities. Additional beneficiaries of the Farm Share program include community-based organizations serving neighborhoods in need and Columbus residents impacted by the coronavirus pandemic. The Farm Share program is designed to be efficient and simple so that overhead and administrative costs remain low by connecting those who already do the work, the farm and a farmer's market manager, for example. Farm Share is simply providing the funds needed to purchase food for distribution. Next slide, and Angela.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Okay. So as Councilmember Tyson mentioned earlier in the presentation, we were able to work with 5 local producers and 6 community host organizations. One of the producers was a co-op that was made up of 8 growers, and we paired them based on the quantity of produce available, the number of residents to be served in each community, as well as a preferred distribution method. So they could choose from free distribution, a low-cost market or farm stand, a pay what you can, or a CSA model. And I'm also happy to report that 90% of our participants from 2020 have returned for the 2021 year, so that's good news. But I would like y'all to hear from one of our participants. So we worked with Julia Lynn Walker from the Bronzeville Growers Market, who was paired with Pam Mack from El Marie Limited. So I will turn it over to Julia Lynn so she could tell you about her experience. And Cheryl, could we go yeah, okay, that works. Okay, Julia Lynn?
Yeah, I'm having, just at that moment, I'm having, oh, I give up.
Oh, we can hear you.
Ms. Walker, we can hear you.
I don't know why.
No, we can hear you. You're fine.
All right, fine. Julia Lynn Walker, and yes, we started the Bronzeville Growers Market in 2018. So this year will be our 4th season. Last year we were reluctant to open because of COVID-19, but we're very pleased that we did because it really represented an oasis of calm as well as sustenance for our community. El Marie Limited is owned and operated by Pamela Mack, and she's one of the few, if not the only, African-American, female-owned, certified organic farm in Central Ohio. Okay, next slide, please. All right, in terms of the Bronzeville Growers Market, I want to just emphasize that, and I've cut my remarks, but this was a very significant relationship in terms of the figures. You have the data before you in terms of the consumption and the food that was provided, but what you don't have are the stories behind the figures, behind the data. And we were really pleased with the relationships that were developed both between us as a site host and El Marie as our producer, but also with our community, with the consumers, because there were so few places in the area that were available for them to not only receive produce, but also just to be able to share and be part of a community. Also, I want to note that one of an important outgrowth was the relationship that the site hosts were able to develop after the market ended in 2020. So since February, 4 of us have been meeting regularly, one to discuss some of the concerns that we've had with farm share. And I'm pleased to say that our concerns were really very few, but also just to explore ways that we could strengthen ourselves as providers of fresh produce. So we've had a number of discussions. We've even invited some guest speakers, and we've identified another site producer as well as another possible site host. So we have been very motivated to look at how we can strengthen our participation in this program and be able to provide whatever gains that we have with the broader community. And so I'll stop there.
Thank you, Lynn. Cheryl, if you could go to the next slide. Okay, then I will turn it back over to Jamie. There was a slide in there that talked about the statistics from the overall 2020 season, which I will not go through. It's on page 8 of the annual report, if you have not read it yet.
So you can go ahead and go over it. I think we're going to we may not be able to be live streamed after 6, but I think we're still taping the presentation. So if you want to just quickly move through it, that's fine.
Oh, sure. I'll just do a couple. So some of the highlights is we had nearly 1,500 residents that were served from this pilot program in the first year, and $12,000 went to directly to growers of our fresh fruits and vegetables for this project, and then also the host organizations that did use a paid model, so a low-cost farmers market stand, they were able to raise additional funds directly for their organization. That's $2,461 that went directly to those community organizations as well. So I will turn it back over to Jamie, and we can go to the next slide. You're muted.
Farm Share would not be possible without our partners and financial contributors, Columbus City Council and the Kroger Company Zero Hunger, Zero Waste Foundation, and with support from Columbus Public Health Center for Public Health Innovation. Thank you for supporting Ohio farmers and growers and community organizations doing tireless work to feed their neighbors. If you'd like more information about Farm Share or about Ohio Farmers Market Network in general, please contact us. We have our contact information listed on the next slide, Cheryl. And again, thank you to Councilmember Tyson and Commissioner OGrady for inviting us here today and for your continued support and leadership for a more robust regional food system.
And I'd like to introduce my colleague, Brian Estabrook from Franklin County Economic Development and Planning.
Hello again, everybody. I'm excited to tell you about the Franklin County Food Business Portal, one of the featured accomplishments of 2020. Led by the local food board and a group of community stakeholders, Franklin County launched the Franklin County Food Business Portal in June 2020. The portal is a free one-stop compilation of online resources and services to help entrepreneurs successfully plan, launch, and grow a food business. The portal represents the successful implementation of one of the 27 actions in the Local Food Action Plan. Action C6 identified the need to support small food businesses with access to the resources and services they need to succeed, including financing and technical assistance. Small food businesses need a lot of resources and services that are often difficult to identify, to access, and to understand. The portal addresses this problem directly by bringing all of these resources and services together in one place, ensuring easy and equitable access, while freeing entrepreneurs to focus on improving their products and serving their customers better. The portal also provides specific support for Black and Brown entrepreneurs, for women entrepreneurs, and for other under-resourced entrepreneurs who may experience marginalization due to historical oppression, some part of their identity, or because of their income. To our knowledge, Franklin County Food Business Portal is the only business portal in existence designed specifically for food businesses, and we're proud to be an innovator in that area. And while the portal was not designed as a response to the COVID-19 pandemic, it has allowed food businesses to identify and access critical assistance during this crisis. And next, I want to introduce a key partner in the development of the Food Business Portal, and that's Mike Bowers. He's the district director for the Ohio Small Business Development Center at Columbus State Community College, and he's going to share a bit about SBDC's work as well as his perspective on the value of the Food Business Portal, which you can see the screenshot of the homepage here, and his service for Franklin County entrepreneurs. Mike?
Thank you, Brian. I appreciate the opportunity to participate in this today. I am going to cut straight to the point. As Brian said, I am the director of the Ohio Small Business Development Center at Columbus State Community College. We serve Columbus, Franklin County, and all the contiguous counties. And our goal is to support entrepreneurs in starting, building, and growing businesses. What we saw in 2020 is truly frightening from a business standpoint. Typically, on an average year, we provide advising to about 1,000 small businesses over the course of that year. In 2020, we provided advising to 2,700 small businesses, all of them looking for ways to survive the pandemic. What I'd like to say about where we stand today is that hopefully we're seeing businesses start to emerge from the challenges of the last year. And the local food portal is going to be a key piece of that for food-based businesses. As Brian said, it is a one-stop free online set of resources for small businesses that will support not only us, other support organizations like ECDI, but even the smaller neighborhood-based entities that small business owners, prospective small business owners can get to find out how to grow their business. The food portal is a great resource because it is allowing them to get at their own schedule, at their own time, find out how to do this and what resources are there, and then be able to take that to the next level. So we're excited to have been involved in both the Local Food Action Plan as well as the Food Business Portal. We look forward to this being a huge support to growing these food businesses going into the future. And we look forward to continuing to participate in venues like this to again share how these particular tools can be of support. Thank you.
And our last presentation of the evening is our partners at SWACO and the Central Ohio Food Waste Initiative.
Thank you, Cheryl. My name is Lucy Schroeder. I'm Food Waste Initiative Coordinator with SWACO.
who facilitates the work of the Central Ohio Food Waste Initiative. I'm joined today by Allegra Weisler of Ohio Health, who led their engagement in our Food Waste Champions program. We'll be sharing together the accomplishments of SWACO and the Central Ohio Food Waste Initiative, especially in addressing the local food action plan's goal D of food-related waste. Next slide, please. And so as a quick background, just to share kind of how this connects in with the local food action plan. After the local food action plan's development, or around the same time, SWACO was also working on setting our goal for the community to reach 75% diversion of material from landfills by 2032. And so as part of that goal, it became important that we address food waste, which is the #1 most prevalent material coming into our landfill. Also, that comes out to 1 million pounds of food every single day. And so in response to the kind of joint efforts going on, both with SWACO and our landfill diversion and the local food action plan, we developed the food waste action plan as well, gathering together over 200 partners to work collaboratively on food waste reduction efforts. Next slide, please. And so just to highlight a few of our accomplishments in 2020, we launched our food waste awareness campaign, Save More Than Food. And so this becomes kind of our platform to speaking to our communities. We're looking to speak both to residents, but also to food businesses, to workplaces, and to schools about the different actions that they can take to reduce food waste. And so Save More Than Food is an excellent resource, and I recommend anyone who's interested in food waste prevention, reduction, or diversion, go to savemorethanfood.org to learn more. Next, we have our school resources. Of course, this has been a hectic year for schools, and so we had a bit of a quiet launch at the beginning of the year, but our resources are designed to help schools bring food waste education to the classroom, help students understand the why behind the resources that go into the food that we eat. SWACO is also in the process of developing a plan for organics management. So this is a long-term agenda surrounding how we can engage our communities and build a system that serves the regional composting needs. And then we have innovation, so a series of work around bringing innovative models for food waste reduction that we can pilot with local businesses. And then we're really proud of our partner projects. Members of the Food Waste Initiative and members of our community have received granting funding through SWACO to implement food waste reduction projects. These include things like food waste drop-off sites in communities where residents can for free take their material to be composted. We even have partners who have implemented composting systems such as Food Matters, and much, much more. Number 6 here, we're selected to participate in the Natural Resource Defense Council Great Lakes cohort. This is an excellent opportunity for us to network with other communities who are looking to reduce food waste, and an excellent opportunity for us to share our learnings with those communities as well. And then last but not least, we have our Food Waste Champions program, and that's what Allegra is here to speak with us about today, so I'll hold off my description of that one for now. Next slide, please. And so our collaboration with the local food action team has been so helpful for the advancement of our project work. Cheryl and Brian and other members of the team have been participating ongoing in our initiative meetings, as well as even applying for grant funding, especially partnering with us on food donation and engaging food businesses through the public health departments around what they can do to reduce food waste. We've also been collaborating through the Save More Than Food campaign to co-promote those resources and also to co-promote the food business portal and much, much more. We're grateful for the partnership of the local food team, and we look forward to continued collaboration. Next slide, please. And so last but not least, we have Allegra Weisler here with Ohio Health to share a little bit more about her experience in the Food Waste Champions program. Ohio Health's Dublin Methodist Hospital participated in our program, and the program is designed to help us gather learnings and develop resources for food businesses around what does it look like to implement food waste prevention, donation, and composting. What are the resources that they need to get started? How do they understand what the financial commitment is going to be? What are some best practices along the way? What are some hiccups that some of our champions hit? And so we have 5 food champions who participated, representing a range of food businesses. We had Ohio Health, we had Harvest Pizza, Local Cantina, Cameron Mitchell's The Barn is currently finishing up their pilot now, And I'm missing one, but I'm going to keep moving because I know we're pressed for time. But I'll pass it off to Allegra, and she can tell us a little bit more about Ohio Health sustainability efforts and the Champions program.
Thanks, Lucy. I hope everyone can hear me. Thank you all for the amazing work each of you is doing in this space. It's absolutely outstanding to be part of this. I'm Allegra Wiesler. I'm the Senior Sustainability Consultant for Ohio Health. In the fall of 2020, we targeted food waste as one of our sustainability focused areas, and we therefore partnered with SWACO to help us pilot food waste reduction efforts at Dublin Methodist Hospital. And through the partnership with SWACO, we were able to implement food composting with our local vendor, Innovative Organics, as well as implement food donation process with Food Rescue US to help us provide edible food directly to local organizations serving our most vulnerable in the community. And by the end of our pilot with SWACO, we were able to divert 88% of our kitchen's waste from the landfill, which is a huge lift. And based on the successes we saw with that program moving forward, we plan to expand this program across all of our Ohio healthcare sites and continue our sustainability efforts around landfill diversion and expand the efforts to connect our community with excess healthy food. So again, very appreciative of this time and appreciative of the partnership with SWACO and Food Rescue and Innovative Organics. Thanks, Lucy.
Thanks for being on here today, Allegra. And next slide, please, Cheryl. I'd encourage anyone who's interested to learn more about the efforts of SWACO and the Central Ohio Food Waste Initiative to visit SaveMoreThanFood.com, or you can reach out to me at this email address attached here. And then lastly, I just wanted to share thank you for your recognition today as a local food champion. It's been an honor to work in partnership with the local food action team. And back to you, Cheryl.
Thank you. Thank you, Lucy and Councilmember Tyson. That concludes our planned speakers for this evening.
Thank you, Cheryl. And I think this is probably the quietest I've ever been at a food plan hearing. And I really just, as I was sitting here thinking about this really is my final food plan hearing for as a council member. I certainly will be showing up when I'm no longer here, but when I think about and reflect on all the work that's been done, I am just so appreciative of each of you who have been with this work from the very beginning, and then to be able to see the how everyone on this hearing today has really worked together to enhancing the coordination and communication among existing food resources and agencies who think about our goals to improve access and education about healthy food, affordable food, and local food, and then to increase the role of food in economic development, and then preventing food-related waste. In this hearing today, you have certainly talked about how you have been involved in those 4 goals, and certainly, and we have certainly shared where we are with some of the 27 action steps. 2020 certainly was a year, as we just talked, as we have shared throughout this hearing, with the pandemic, racial inequities, things that, but we're also through all that, there have been successes that have come about. And so when I think about the progress that has been made, and in this hearing today, we heard from presenters that of the success of the Farm Share Program, the Food Business Portal, and SWACO, as they've given us updates on their programs. We've been able to identify all the food champions, as well as the individual organizations that have stepped up to help individuals during the pandemic. And so, again, I am just so thankful for the work that you do to move our community forward and to look at and help us to make sure we remove these inequities that exist in terms of food access. And I don't know if Commissioner O'Grady is here before I make my final remarks, if he would like to say something before we close out.
Well, I do actually, Councilwoman Tyson, I do want to say a few words, but only a few. I think it's appropriate that during the course of this meeting, I move from the upstairs office to the kitchen so that I could make dinner for the family. But I only wanted to get on at the end of the meeting to be able to say thank you to you for all the fantastic work that you've done over the course of the last several years as a part of this team that we've created between the city and the county. You know, I started into this work when I became a county commissioner. Just a few months after I became a county commissioner, you know, as luck would have it, working with the Somali community, working with some friends and some folks in county government, and one thing led to another, and the momentum began to build. But it really steamrolled when the folks at Columbus Public Health reached out to Franklin County and asked if we could create a team based on the insistence of you. And so all of this really came from that partnership that we have created between the city and the county, and through your insistence and through your hard work. You know, I was in Cleveland not long ago, remembering times that we had that my staff and I had up there. I was in Southern Ohio, remembering times down in Athens County. I've had conversations with my colleagues at NACO, the National Association of Counties, about the work that the city and the county have done together. I know that you have had conversations with colleagues at the National League of Cities. And so all of this work that has been accomplished by the city and the county and the staff of Columbus Public Health and the staff of Franklin County Department of Economic Development and Planning, and all of the work that's happened because of our great partners on the local food board, it's because of the partnership that's been created. And so, you know, I know that your time is short, but the work that you have put in and the passion that you've put in this area is to be commended. And I wanted, before we were done tonight, I wanted to just tell you how much I appreciate everything that you've done. And I can only hope that whoever picks up this mantle and picks this up and decides to continue on the work that you've done, puts as much time and effort and passion into it as you have. And so I wanted to say thank you to everybody on here. I wanted to make sure that they knew that I appreciate all that you've done in this world, in this realm. So thank you very much, Councilwoman.
Thank you, John. Certainly couldn't have done it without you. And I just recently saw a picture of us in front of the IGA on Parsons Avenue. We were out cooking for the community, but I just recently saw that picture. But again, you've been a great partner. And as I sit here to think about, you know, you get a little teary eyed because you know I love the work, and I'm glad it's nice to be able to see that when we created a plan that we put money behind the plan. We made sure we had great staff to work on it, great community partners to move us forward. So it's just been an honor and a privilege to do this work. And so I just thank you, and I thank everyone on this call. And I want to make my last comments. It's been a pleasure to work with everyone. And again, I learned so much tonight from some of the presentations. I certainly want to learn more information about organizations that are doing amazing work in this area. And so you will be hearing from me prior to me leaving here to just hear more about your work and how we can continue to be supportive. So again, the action plan has been successfully implemented and the work is being driven by the community. And before I end this meeting, I want to take a few moments to recognize some of the people that made this possible. I certainly want to thank the Franklin County Local Food Council, Karima, Ariel, and Rachel. Thank you so much. I want to thank the local food team, Cheryl Graffinino of Columbus Public Health, and Brian Estabrook from Franklin County Economic Development and Planning. Certainly this work would not be done without you. Certainly Jim Shimmer. And to thank the Health Commissioner, Dr. Rashika Roberts. I want to thank Tony Logan, the local food board chair, and all the board members. I want to say a special thank you to Michelle Moskowitz Brown for certainly helping to lead the effort, leading the conversation tonight on regarding COVID, to Amy McCormick, the vice chair, thank you. And lastly, I want to thank Adam Troy and the work that they're doing around racial equity. But again, I want to a personal thank you to everyone that presented. Your work is so important. I want to thank my fellow council members and their staff, again, who serve our community with pride each and every day. My staff, Nicole Harper and Carl Williams. Angela Burks, who manages the virtual platform for these hearings, could not have done it without her. The hardworking team of CTV that make this work possible so we can broadcast it to our community. And then again, lastly, to my good friend, Commissioner John O'Grady, for his partnership in ensuring the success of this plan. So again, finally, I need to thank the residents of Columbus that make our city a great place to live. Thank you very much for allowing me to serve, and this hearing is adjourned. Thank you.